Good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Sanders, and welcome to the latest edition of the CICMQ Best Practice 11s. I'm really pleased today that we have Kerrie Blackaby from Associated British Foods and Sean Don, also from Associated British Foods, to talk about their processes and what they have done. We have, as usual, a good number of people on the call today, and thanks very much everybody for joining. Call will last roughly about sort of 45 minutes from now or thereabouts, but we will stop recording, and if you want to have a more open chat afterwards, then that's fine. We've got more questions after we've stopped recording. So I'd like to introduce Kerrie. Say hi, Kerrie.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, great, and Sean. Nice to see you, Sean.
Hello.
And I will ask you now, Kerrie, if you want to share your screen, and off you go. Okay, if everybody can see that, give me a thumbs up. Excellent.
So, I don't know, is that started? Sorry. Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Put it on presentation mode there, Kerrie.
Is it not come through? Sorry.
There you go. That's it.
There we go. Apologies for that. Morning, everybody. As Chris has just introduced me, I'm Kerrie Blackaby. I work for Associated British Foods now, was Allied Bakeries, and I'm going to give you a brief update on life over the last 18 months, what we've done, what we've achieved, and a little bit of history as well about the company Sean's going to go through with you all. So first of all, there's a picture here that shows myself and the credit control team for Allied Bakeries. This picture was taken when we were first accredited by the CICM back in 2016. I've got another slide further on where I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. And then we've got a picture of our lovely office. So as you can see, it's nothing fancy. Working for a large manufacturing company, we like to keep our costs as low as possible. So it's a nice office, it's very welcoming, and we look after our people when they join us in the office. And just a small picture here of our first award from the accreditation. And as I say, I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. So I know Chris had said any questions if you want to put on the chat or at the end. Unfortunately, I'd already put the presentation together to say shout up if you want, so I'm happy for them to just go on the chat, that's no problem. Okay, so I'm just going to pass you over to Sean, who's going to give you a little bit of an update on who we are and where we fit in to ABF.
Okay, thanks, Kerrie. You'll be in charge of the button then. Thanks, Chris, by the way, in the first instance, for inviting us to speak today. Really appreciate it. Just to let you know, I'm Sean Don. I'm head of operations for the ABF Grocery Service Centre, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. I've been here for over 20 years. Background of once upon a time being the credit manager. So maybe I know a little bit about it, not as much as Kerrie though. And also studying for what was then ICM back in the day. So I was very proud to get my MICM grad. I wouldn't give it up for fellow. I'm not doing that. I'm glad to have my grad at the end, just to say I studied for it. Just during my time at Allied Bakeries, I suppose like some other people, I've expanded. You can either go into more credit control or move across the different functions. So I took on the AP manager role as well, and then started away with master data and payroll and HR. Hence then currently being a head of operations, and I'm involved in all of them departments and work with all of them managers for them teams. So it's an interesting start from the credit control background to move into that. So just wanted to give you a bit of an overview about where we fit in. I know Frank Anderson's on this session, so he knows about ABF, but just the intricacies of where we fit in and why we're grocery group now. So Associated British Foods are our parent company. It's great to work with them as a sort of amazing employer. So, but as you can see by the chart, they have the manufacturing and lots of other businesses right across the globe. We have within the UK more than anything, we have the sugar business with AB Sugar and British Sugar we do quite a bit of work with, including Silver Spoon as well, with some of the payroll, AR, various other activities. Got the agriculture, again, Frank will know all about this, but again, focused on through AB Agri, but really sort of a market leader and having products across all 70 countries. Then a big section of its ingredients, quite a few names some people will know. Again, some of them companies we work with as a grocery service centre, but some of them we don't do any work for, we just share knowledge and information with. And then lots of people will obviously know Primark, who I think were once pennies, weren't they, in Ireland, started some time ago and now have taken over the UK and looking at the countries that they're in now onto the world. And then there's the sort of grocery, the last part is there's a grocery area, which is where we fall into it. So ABF are there with all these different businesses, but they have a grocery group. So we, you know, that's the part we fall into. So if you click through, Kerrie. So quite a number of these businesses are being grocery group in the UK. Some of them will be Australia, America, but these are the type of companies that are within that group that we work with. So we do a lot of activities. Some of them you'd know by the name of the business what they do, but some of them you probably wouldn't, including people like AB Well Foods. So if we move on to there, these are the type of products of these companies. So they, you know, they're mainly in the food manufacturing. But if you have a look through there, you might even milling and baking. So like bakeries that we were talking about, doesn't necessarily say Kingsmill in it or Sunbreast or Allinson. So you wouldn't necessarily link them things together. And as we go through Silver Spoon, I suppose Jordan's, Dorset, Ryvita do what they say on the tin, because that's what they supply. And then across to AB Well Foods and Westmill Foods, which again, in terms of AB Well Foods, number of products that you'll recognise with Blue Dragon, Patak's, Levi Roots, and then onto Westmill Foods, which I'd probably say if you've ever eaten a noodle or any rice in a restaurant, you will be eating Westmill Foods noodles and rice. So they're quite, they've got their own brands as well, like Raja, but they're quite heavily into restaurants, which, as you can imagine, for them, that became quite a challenge at the pandemic when everything was shut, which is very different than people like bakeries, where more people were going to buy bread as part of the extra shopping they had to do, and they weren't going out. Just the next one, please, Kate. Again, just a brief one, because I'm really just trying to introduce you, because Kerrie's got the main part of this, because she does all the work. But we started back sort of 20 years ago, and the first thing we did was we and both myself and Kerrie were there then. We centralised credit control, so it was done at all the local bakeries. Each one collected their own money. So we went and asked the Institute of Credit Management, as it was then, to say, can we train a few of our people, and maybe we can do that better than being disparate and decentralised across the group. They had about 26 people doing credit control or something across, because you had a couple of people at each bakery. So we did that back 20 years ago, which was a struggle because they didn't believe we could do it better than them. But we did. We then got a few people studying. We were able to put in an ERP, which helped us remove them 20 odd people right down, because we automated lots of things. And so at that point, we started turning ourselves into a bit of a central office rather than a shared service. A few years later, we started looking at payroll and further back office processes. So it's just, again, this is just how we evolved. We got some requests for people to, if we could do their payroll for them, which we said we could. As that moved along, things came in like auto enrollment and RTI and all these other things, which then more and more people for some reason didn't want to do their own payroll because it became quite tricky. And in 2012, we sort of created ourselves as a finance shared service centre. So that was our real point, where we were doing lots of metrics, doing lots of sort of benchmarking, working with Hackett, doing all sorts of different things that allowed us to become as efficient as possible. From that point on, we moved along into a service delivery model, gaining the accreditation, as we've mentioned, which was a real achievement. I think I knew Kerrie and the team by that stage because I'd been credit manager, and then numbers were far better than when I was credit manager. So I assumed that meant they were really, really good, because I thought I was good. So they went and got that accreditation, which I knew they would, because they were a really good team, really great processes. You know, part of that accreditation was, are you doing everything brilliantly? Have you got everything nailed? And so no matter how good we were, we still learned quite a lot from that process. I think everybody that must go through it does. I think mainly, I was just trying to make sure we weren't behind Frank Anderson and the team. That was my main aim. It wasn't anything about accreditation. It's making sure Frank could say, well, we've got this accreditation and you haven't. So we then moved on quite quickly, right across the shared service, started developing our offerings. We weren't going out necessarily pushing our services, but people who wanted the extra comfort and control and security of having an internal business to ABF, but being able to outsource it to somebody that knew all the rules and all the controls and all the financial control framework. We then more recently moved to looking at RPA, looking at all the efficiencies that you would imagine and link with us. We've got sort of UiPath, got some robots in, and then we got through to the key part, which was you know, whether we could be a centre of excellence. In a couple of other areas within the shared service, we've been accredited. Nobody to get this far into centre of excellence. So that was a great process. We had a great roadmap. It was all going swimmingly, and then along came a pandemic, like it did for everybody, which Kerrie will talk about a little bit more. And although it was a great challenge, it's been a massively interesting year, particularly for accounts receivable, in terms of all them challenges that come, and not moving away from the roadmap, the plans, the timings, which I say, I won't steal Kerrie's thunder on that. Up until the point where, just the final point where we became ABF Grocery Service Centre, because we were doing so many different things for so many different businesses. It was wrong really to brand us under the Allied Bakeries doing it for somebody else type sort of area. So, and the next thing we're moving on to, and again, we'll briefly talk about it, is an implementation of an ERP across many of them companies, because as one of the things I don't really understand how AR are doing is they're doing collections from many businesses, all on their own systems, all on other people's systems. So each of the AR team members has to know 5 or 6 ERP systems and understand them. Is a massive challenge for them. All right, Kerrie, one more. And just a picture of who we are, how many people there are in the contact centre. There is a information services team here that does that across Grocery Group as well. There's a customer contact centre, so all things that we're dealing with, anything with from orders, any changes, lots of automation in there, but still a number of people. Finance picks up AP, AR, payroll, master data, your balance sheet, general ledger people. And then we also have, as I mentioned before, we've got some HR administration that we do across a number of the businesses. And we've also got some consumer service, so all our social networking and all the activities. Again, all of these areas, all of these functions do this across many and different businesses. But Kerrie will share that with you in a few minutes. And one more, Kerrie. It's most important for me personally, is what is it to work for the Grocery Service Centre. So we sort of wanted to call out with the team what they think it's important. So the whole team created this, what they think it's important for, particularly for new people starting, which again, a massive challenge for people over the last 18 months. It's been the worst thing ever to start a new job. Trying to be trained and learn, but this is the most important thing for us, is what we stand for. And while you're here, we're going to make it, I mean, it's financial transaction processing basically. So you're not going to have the greatest deal of fun while you're here, but while you are here, then we wanted to make it as good as experience as it can be. So other than, you know, we're going to say have a laugh, but you know, don't not do your work. We're going to say make sure you respect and appreciate everyone and what they bring to the party, because everybody brings something different. And most important, and this is the thing I get most from our grocery service centre is helping people. So it's not all about you doing just your job and being great at it. It's about helping everybody else be great at their job as well. And Kerrie epitomises that for her team to make sure that they can all get their job done. She will support them all the way through, which, to be honest, across lots of the other managers as well, which is why we have some great performance stats. And it's a great place to work, which is what is the case. So that's enough from me, because I'll take up all Kerrie's time, and that's more important than me speaking.
Okay, thank you, Sean. So I'm just going to give you a little bit around my roadmap. So we did have a business roadmap when we started the accreditation. However, I had my own roadmap as well. I've been with the company 22 years. Back in 2013, I became the accounts receivable manager. Prior to that, I'd worked on a couple of projects, done credit control, moved up to be the credit control specialist. But when I became the accounts receivable manager, for me, it wasn't about moving and learning and moving out of the department. I wanted to see how far I could get within the accounts receivable department. Back in 2017, we were just doing the credit control for Allied Bakeries, and at this point in time, the stats that we were performing, our overdue debt, our write-off levels, were just world-class stats at that time. At that point, we were asked from one of our other businesses to come in and assist them at this point with their credit control, because they had a lot of overdue debt. They'd seen the statistics we were performing to, and asked would we be able to assist with that. So Speedy Bake was one of the first businesses I went to, learned their processes and completed a transition to, throughout a 6-month period, own their credit control. So we took on Speedy Bake. That then developed into AB Sports Nutrition, which is one of our other companies. We took that on. It's one of our smaller businesses, a lot smaller ledgers, but we were able to put in our expertise and our knowledge and take that ledger over pretty much quite quickly and just be responsible for that. Then in 2020, there was a plan for me to take over for the Allied Mills. So again, I'll talk about each individual business in more detail. But 2020, we Allied Mills, so took their ledger over and started to try to look at their ledger and see why debt was where it was, and to put in again our knowledge and the customer relationships that we had as well, which is what helped us. And then most recently, 2020, we've done Silver Spoon. So Silver Spoon is our most recent transition, all done online. And again, it's been a successful transition. So I'll go into more detail with that. So for me, for my roadmap is that hopefully within the next 12, 18 months, I can then become a grocery credit manager, being a credit manager for 5 businesses at the moment. Okay, so this is the team. So it's quite a big team. I've got an operational lead and a specialist role who report directly into me, and then a number of credit controllers. So within our department, we don't just do the credit control, we do everything. We do the credit applications, right through to settling the rebates. We work with a number of different departments within the business as well. So we work with customer services around orders or delivery disputes. And we also work with our accounts payable if we've got customers and vendors who are set up together. So the team's really experienced. So like myself, a lot of them have been with the company a number of years. I think in total, we've got just over 170 years service between us. So we are all very experienced and very knowledgeable within the business. So today, I'm just going to cover off some of the things that we practice as a business. So for us, it's not just about collecting debt, it's about having strong controls in place, having relationships, being able to be very customer focused, reduce our costs. So being able to do all this, but at the lowest cost possible as well. So it's not just about taking on this business and taking on all extra staff. It's being about us actually transitioning the work, but doing it as cost effective as possible for ABF. So I'll give you a bit of an update on the performance, how we're actually doing, and also the challenges that we've had to try to do this throughout the last 18 months. So back in back 2020, we were performing to a high standard. All our metrics, we were all, as you can see, we were always green. Our overdue debt, our sales, audit claims, write-offs, we had the lowest bad debt write-off that we've ever had, and we thought our stats are not going to be very good going forward. We were all working from home, we all had different challenges ahead of us, and at first it was, look, just try to do what we can do. You know, if we don't work as good as we have done for the previous years, then it's the way it is. But luckily for us, for the team that we had, we continued at the level that we were at. None of our statistics went worse. We were performing, and we continued to perform. So for us, it's a real challenge that we had to do, and we did it well. We've been able to continue with the level that we've always performed at. So at the start of 2020, as I've just touched on then, we did the accounts receivable for Allied Bakeries, Speedy Bake and Sports Nutrition. We were asked to go to Allied Mills to start doing a transition for them. So myself and another team member went off to Tilbury and thought, right, okay, we're going to start learning this business. We're going to gain relationships with these people that, unfortunately for them, they were not in a great position because the finance was moving over to the GSC. So it was about getting to know these people and dealing with it the right way, because that's a big thing for us, is making sure that these understand that it's, for us, we need to understand all their processes for us to be able to be successful in doing this. So we went to Tilbury with a plan of being in Tilbury for 6 to 8 weeks to start to learn this job. And we were in two weeks, we'd been to Tilbury. I think we'd spent 3 full days with them, and it was a phone call, get back, you're going into lockdown. So it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Are we going to be able to continue with this? And the priority at that time was getting back to the team, and getting all the team settled. So that's what we did. We got back, got them all working from home again, which was a massive challenge to everybody. Out of the team, there was only really myself that had ever worked from home. So I think most of them didn't even have laptops. They were trying to set all them up. But at the same time, I was providing a service to Allied Mills to do this transition. So I still had to make sure that this transition was successful. And luckily for us, it was. We made a success of it. We started off with Allied Mills, and their debt in total was about £500,000, their overdue debt, when we took it over. We took over £500,000, and then by the time we were 6 months into this transition, we average about 50k of their overdue debt now. So this is a massive success for us, to be able to go do a transition, do it in lockdown, all the challenges that we had throughout lockdown. But not only were we dealing with Allied Mills, we were also dealing with a company that we already dealt with, which was Speedy Bake. So Speedy Bake, which we transitioned in 2016, a lot of their customers were hugely affected from the very first lockdown. Around 70% of their customers actually had to close up. They had to close up, lock up like everybody else. But for us, we still had this debt to collect because they all had bills that they needed to pay for us. So it was trying to make sure that we done everything to make sure that we weren't exposing us to a massive bad debt when things were starting to open up again. So it was trying to get all that into place. We needed to reduce credit limits for all these customers. And then slowly, as the country started opening up again, these customers were coming to us and saying, well, we want orders because we want to open our cafe and we want to serve again. But it was making sure that that risk was as low as possible, because these customers still had bills that they hadn't paid from prior to lockdown. but we didn't want to lose them as customers either. So we needed to make sure we did things right. We moved them over to pro forma. And towards the end of 2020, we collected every penny that these customers had owed to us at the beginning of lockdown. So we had no bad debt from that at all, which again was a really good success for us. So at the end of 2020, we're then in a position where we're doing the credit control for Allied Bakeries, Speedy Bake, AB Sports Nutrition and Allied Mills. We're all working from home and the focus to us was, right, we need to perform these to the best we can. We're providing a service for these businesses. We need to work as a team and we need to make sure we continue working throughout all these challenges. And this is what we did as a team, which was really good. So 2020, not only did we do the transition of all these work, we also applied to be a centre of excellence. So I think at this point in time, we'd done the accreditation in 2016, we'd been re-accredited in 2018, and the next thing for us was, are we ready to be a centre of excellence? Are we good enough? We learned a lot from the accreditations. We learned a lot around people development, a lot of our process, our documentation. So I think Sean touched on it, that you think you're good, but then when you actually get assessed, you think, no, we can actually be better. So the accreditation was a real help to us as a business. It helped us go out there, it helped us to identify where our people needed more training, putting training plans in place, and a lot of areas that we thought we were good at, we knew we could get better, and that's what we needed to do before we were able to apply for the Centre of Excellence. So by the end of 2020, we'd done the Mills transition. We completed all through lockdown. As I said, none of them had laptops. We'd reduced the overdue debt on Allied Mills, and we applied for our Centre of Excellence. September 2020, we got the news that we were actually a Centre of Excellence, which was, I think, probably the best day of 2020 for me. The only bad thing about it is I've not been able to really celebrate it. Yeah, I'm waiting for that day. We've got the presentation booked in now for September, so I'm hoping come September we'll be able to get together as a team and actually celebrate all the hard work that we've done over the last couple of years to be able to get this Centre of Excellence. So again, it's just another chart here, just shows you where we are as a department, what businesses we're actually doing the credit control for, and where we stand at the end of 2020. So this Centre of Excellence for us, for the Chartered Institute of Credit Management, we've been linked with the CICM for over 20 years. Sean touched on it on his part. We've had people studying, a couple of people within the team are always interested. We're all members. And it's been an interesting 20 years with different people studying different modules. We've got a couple of the team at the moment who've just done their business law. Their final module is accounting principles, which I think they're due to start in the next couple of months. And as I said earlier, we were first accredited in 2016 and then re-accredited in 2018. So 2020 was definitely the year for us to try to get this Centre of Excellence. To be multi-skilled across a number of ERP systems, to be able to continue at a lowest debt that we've ever been able to do was very challenging throughout a pandemic as well. So we reached the goal, we got Centre of Excellence, as I've just mentioned then. The feedback we got for becoming a Centre of Excellence, not only from directors or heads within Allied Bakeries, it was right across. Some of the comments, some of the emails that we got was well deserved. To have one that just said simply fantastic, I thought was really good. These are just a few of the comments that, the recognition that we got from becoming a Centre of Excellence. So yeah, that's what has made us where we are now today. So 2021 came along, we're all still working at home. I think at this point we thought, yeah, we'll all be back in the office. When we did the Allied Mills transition, I think I'd said to one of my senior team is, don't worry, if we ever do a transition again, we'll be back in the office, we'll do it together. But working on Microsoft Teams allowed us to do a lot of the training online. So we were able to record the sessions, which I think was really good. So all the team have got all the sessions all recorded. It saves them having to try and sit and do notes while they're training. They've been able to just go back and watch the sessions, which is really good. That helped us to be able to do this. And then January 2021, I was told Silver Spoon has asked us to come along to have a look at their processes and to see if it was something that we were able to do. Bearing in mind we were already doing 4 businesses, we hadn't increased the team at all at this point. So at this point we'd done 4 transitions, but no additional team members, so it was really challenging. We started Silver Spoon February 2021 and we completed their transition in April 2021. Again, this was another successful transition. With Silver Spoon, it's not been about them reducing their overdue debt or putting better processes in, because they were very well organised. They had a lot of processes in place. What has actually made us be so successful with Silver Spoon is around the customers as well. So a lot of the customers that Silver Spoon deal with, we dealt with already, whatever business it was that we were dealing with. So we had relationships in place. We were able to go to Tesco and say, you know, can we do account reconciliations? We had contact people there. So we were able, and obviously with having a larger team, that helps as well. So the different relationships are already in place with a lot of the team members and these customers. So I'm just going to pass you back over to Sean, who's going to go through a few of the final slides.
Hey, thanks, Kerrie. Again, I won't go into too much detail on this because it's just very general. I think the only thing really to state is there's a lot been going on for everybody. I assume right around the country, the world. I suppose the big thing for me was, you know, Kerrie and the team and a number of the other teams here had to continue with the roadmap of onboarding, because that was the plan. I think she's right in mentioning that we had a new invention, which was Microsoft Teams for us, which could record every session, and therefore it's a lot better than writing it down and trying to make notes, because I don't understand my own handwriting anyway. So, but it did really help, and it helped us to deliver that activity. So just wanted to briefly touch on a couple of slides if you want to do the next one, Kerrie. So yeah, we've had to deliver system changes as part of this process, also as well as the onboarding. So Project Shine, which is an ERP system across the grocery group, and because we're now involved with all the different businesses, the first company to go live is Speedy Bake. Therefore, Kerrie's team will also have to do UAT testing, checking it works, and then onboarding and going live with that. To be honest, it's like just doing another business onboarding, because it's just a new system and a new process. We had a Project Heart, which was a payroll system, but that had to go on as well. Again, it was challenging, so that was right across the whole of grocery group. All the businesses went onto a new payroll system, went onto SAP SuccessFactors. Again, a real challenge to you're not in the same room as each other, but that was delivered. And then Kofax is mentioned there, which is if people use Kofax, I don't know, in their AP area, it's just invoice processing technology, which goes live in about 2 weeks. So that's just some of the system things that were happening. At the same time, you know, we had to adapt. So you take on these businesses, you've got a bit of a service model, but you've actually got to adapt to attending their audit meetings, being part of process changes, being part of their system changes. You're now part of them businesses, which actually we're really proud of. We love the fact that all them products I mentioned earlier, that we're now part of them products and them businesses, rather than just Allied Bakeries. So that's been a great part of it. We mentioned bringing in Silver Spoon as well, but along the way, some of the businesses were changing. As Kerrie mentioned, the Speedy Bake and their customers and bakeries, and they're changing their routes because they were delivering different quantities to different supermarkets on different days with different time windows. So there's a lot of other challenges, and the service centre are there to support the businesses, not just transactional processing. So a lot went on to adapt us to make sure that we delivered that to all them businesses. Again, Kerrie mentioned strong compliance. We are seen as the place for compliance and controls. We do make sure we actively guarantee that our control environment for the businesses we work with in the areas we're in are up to the standards expected by Associated British Foods. So, and a lot went on in them areas. I mean, to get this far and not mention Brexit is astounding, probably. But so a lot went on, and you know, IR35 I personally disliked because I had to do it twice because they delayed it. But we're just really looking at the work that's gone on alongside all the onboarding for all the businesses, just part of what we did, and then day job. You know, as Kerrie mentioned, everybody hit their stats. We're not as good. We're not across the whole grocery service centre. We're not performing quite as well as we were. We're performing amazingly well. But I will look forward to. I'm in the office now, but I will look forward to when we sort of get to September and we start looking at bringing some teams back together and all them things that you can just ask somebody a question. And again, the big things we mentioned before, I really feel for any new starter, as it's been a tough thing. We're going to get people in September who've never met the team face to face, but I think that's why I sort of showed you our charter before about making people feel welcome, making people feel like they can ask any question. That was really important to us during that time, you know, because we understood how difficult it was to learn a new job in these circumstances. So I do look forward to seeing them. Back over to you, Kerrie.
Yeah, so I mean, throughout this time, what we've also done as a business is made sure when our people are at home that they're okay. So there's been a lot around, obviously, people's mental health. There's been people who are at home on their own, and they're used to working with people. They're used to being in an office environment. So for us, and especially for me as a manager, it was around making sure my people were okay. So yeah, they're doing the job, but are they okay doing the job? Are they okay at home? So for a business, there was a lot of support out there for us. So there was different things for us. We run some health sessions for people, guided them what they should be doing, and a lot of flexibility as well. So as a business, we do flexible working. However, there was more flexibility for everybody. So we were encouraging people to go out and have a walk, and you know, and everyone worked really well with that, and you know, they still done the job, but we were making sure everybody was looked after at the same time. And then just the last slide is that for me especially, and I don't know whether probably anybody who's on this call who's probably got children, was the biggest challenge was homeschooling. So we were doing this job, we were transitioning, we were doing everything, but at the same time, I had a 10 and a 13-year-old to try to homeschool at the same time. I can't really say I learned anything from homeschooling. The only thing I probably learned was that teachers are obviously very, very patient. I'd never make a teacher. But yeah, again, just very challenging last 18 months. We've done it really well. We've transitioned these businesses. We've performed as good as we could. Yeah, coming back into the office, and can't wait to get the whole team back in. And sit down and be able to have conversations and say, well, how do you do that, rather than actually have to pick up the phone or team somebody, and then you team someone and you end up having a 20-minute conversation with them for just one question. So yeah, it's been a tough, challenging 18 months, but I think we've done it good. Okay, any questions?
Thanks very much indeed, Kerrie. So you've been a bit busy then, yeah?
Yeah.
and I know that I now know why you were unable to get onto some of the calls that we had last time out. So it's very understandable. There's a few things that I noticed there that were good. You've got a very broad spread of activities yourself and Sean, covering everything APAI and everything, which is interesting. You're looking forward to becoming grocery credit manager generally, yeah, which is cool.
We'll see.
Congratulations on the Centre of Excellence, by the way. That was no mean achievement with everything else that was going on last year. A point that Sean made, which I thought was really good, and it plays to a comment that was made to me a while back on credit management, that we're backbone, not back office. And what Sean says, you're there to support the business, not just the finance processing. Yeah, which is absolutely what we all say. You know, you can't get this job done properly unless you've got your stakeholders on board and you're managing your stakeholders. So that's really important. And of course, Silver Spoon, you've now taken that activity over now, haven't you?
Yeah, we fully own that process.
Silver Spoon were CICMQ accredited.
They were,
as you know. So I hope that helped in some way.
It really did. It really did. I mean, I think out of the four businesses that we'd done the transition for, Silver Spoon were probably the most organised, most documented, and had processes in place. And I think that's probably come from the accreditation. Right.
So well, thanks for that plug. I didn't actually mean you to plug it, but thanks very much for that. That's good. So we've seen an awful lot of significant results over the last year. Organisations have done some remarkable work. And you, for example, your Allied Mills transition that you did, where you reduced the debt down to sort of 50k. What do you put that to? Why do you think that you, along with other organisations, have done so well over this last sort of year in terms of your debtors position? Because there have been some remarkable results, like Tarmac and Hilti and all the other ones we've spoken to. It's been amazing. What do you put that down to?
I mean, I think with us, it was us being able to roll out our current processes that we had already in place for other businesses.
Right.
And when we took over Allied Mills, they didn't have them processes in place. Obviously, it was a lot smaller team trying to do that. We had the knowledge of our team as well. And I think a lot of it came down to relationships we had with these customers. So again, they were trading with customers that we dealt with. So we knew how they worked. We knew how to deal with them. And yeah, I think it was more around the customer relationships and being able to put processes in place.
And that's a key thing, isn't it? When you're looking at shared service centres and stuff like that, and offshoring shared service centres to another place somewhere in the world, they don't have that experience with customers and process and stuff that you have. So the transition to an offshore, non-captive, as they say, shared service centre is always a much more difficult one than when you're trying to do it in-house. With organisation that actually understand your customer base, and that's something that's lost. Yeah, the organisations love to sort of say, oh yeah, we've got to share the money, share the cost, reduce the costs, etc., etc. What they tend to forget is the impact on the customers when they have no experience of that.
Yeah,
and that's interesting. The other thing that I found interesting was the lowest ever bad debt provision. What are you expecting to see when we start to, as obviously we're all sort of starting to come out of lockdown, organisations taking people off furlough, and we're beginning to stop the level of government support that's out there slowly now. What do you see going forward? Are you sitting there quaking in your boots, or are you confident?
No, I'm quite confident, to be honest. I think our ledgers have been controlled throughout. So apart from the speed debate one, which that couldn't be helped, the businesses closed, but that proved as soon as them businesses were open, we were able to manage that, and we were able to collect that. I think the provision that got put in because they were expecting a huge bad debt, and it didn't happen. We collected it all. So I think for us, we've controlled our ledgers right through. So for me, there's no concern at the minute.
So you're managing it, and you're comfortable with the risk that you've got on your ledger now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Great. Okay. That's interesting. And Sean, a point to you. You mentioned about you're an MCICM grad, right? Yeah. No grad snobbery there at all, obviously. But what you can do, just so you know, you can become FCICM and retain your grad now.
I did read that afterwards. So that was fine, and I will do that.
I think you should. I think the results that you and Kerrie have achieved have been remarkable. So I just wanted to throw it open for. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask while we're on here? Okay, stunned silence, which is if you're on mute, take yourself on mute.
Hi, it's Richard.
Hello, Richard.
I love
what company are you from, and where are you from?
Severn Trent Water.
Hi, Richard. I knew that. I just wanted everybody else to know.
I love your values, by the way. I hope Chris is going to share your presentation, or at least that part of it, with us.
I can do that. Yeah. As provided Sean and Kerrie are okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It'll also be recorded, Richard. It'll be on the YouTube channel for the Institute as well.
Right. Okay. Thanks. How do you handle your carbon footprint? Is that something big within ABF at the minute? And because we're obviously being challenged all the time as a company to reduce our carbon footprint, which is great for sticking up, wind farms and everything, but quite difficult in the office. So I'm just curious as to how do you manage that side of things?
Sorry, which in the office part?
Yeah, how to manage your carbon footprint or reducing your carbon footprint.
So obviously, as a business, as you say, ABF, I suppose we have lots of focus groups on that and reducing the carbon footprint. I mean, I think we've just gone to completely electronic everything, which has been a whole part of this process. So even printing things, I suppose I didn't think people thought it could be done. People always say, "Oh no, we need to print and sign that. We need to do this. We need." Yeah. And I suppose for us, we've changed the way of working. That'll change forever. So in terms of office, I suppose that's as much.
It is. I'm just curious because we're under a challenge. I'm just curious what other people are doing.
What's your challenge then, Richard? What are you looking at?
As part and parcel of the whole group activity, we're now trying to reduce as much file storage that we do. So, something like sending out a presentation to people, sending a link instead, because then people keep it in their emails and save a copy as well. And it all slowly adds up. I mean, we'll probably save 0.2 of CO2, but I suppose it all helps. Really.
Yeah, I guess it does, and I think that other organisations like Amazon in the news today have probably got more of a challenge than most at the moment.
Yeah.
So yes, that was quite shocking. I think everybody would agree. Okay. I
appreciate the thought anyway. Thanks.
Yeah, that's an interesting one actually. What are we doing to reduce our carbon footprint? Has anybody got anything they would like to add to that?
Well, Chris, just a quick one here. I'm looking out the window here, and it's bin day today, and the amount of cardboard that we are all now compiling. I wonder if everyone's in the same boat, but every green bin out there is overflowing with cardboard. And a friend of mine makes packaging machines for Amazon. He's had the busiest year ever.
Yeah. Well, I think Essentra, Nicola Hardy, if she's still on. Is Nicola still on?
I'm here.
Yes, you're there because you're involved in the Amazon packaging business, aren't you?
Yes, we do. Well, we do tape, so we don't make the whole box. We make ripper tape. So
it's the little red thingamabob that you grab hold of and pull it across the package that you supply. Someone's got to supply it. So I guess you've had a pretty busy year as well then.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see what. Likewise, I heard the news yesterday, so yeah, interested to see. But I know we are doing a lot of projects, focus groups on sort of zero to landfill and carbon footprint, and so yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's going to.
I think that's perhaps that's a what do we do in credit management to reduce our carbon footprint, and AP and the transactional finance? What do we do to reduce our carbon footprint in those areas? I mean, Sharon keeps banging on at me about how we should go electronic signatures and stuff, but it's one of those things I've never quite got
we are way behind the times on that one, Chris.
Yes, I know. Okay, well, thanks very much indeed, everybody. I'm going to stop recording now. If anybody's got anything they want to add, you can stay on the line and we can have a further chat afterwards. But in the meantime, just before I stop the recording, I would like to thank very much Kerrie Blackaby from ABF and Sean Don for joining us today. Really amazing stuff that you've done last year. All of those new organisations migrated. I knew you'd done some really amazing stuff, which is why I asked you on. And the fact that you've done all of that in at the time of the pandemic is quite remarkable. So congratulations and well done to you both. Thanks very much indeed. And the Institute, I'm sure Sean will look forward to your application for FCICM. No pressure. All right.
Thanks very much, everybody. I'm going to
stop recording now, and we'll carry on talking afterwards.